Is our president in touch with reality? Is Ben Rhodes, his advisor, in touch with reality? They have said that their work in relation to ISIS is effective. They said ISIS was the JV team, and they've beaten ISIS. But somehow ISIS didn't get the memo, and they're winning all the time. And they just took a key city in Anbar province, Ramadi, and they're on the way to Baghdad. It's just a question of how soon they will take over that nation. So people are saying, what gives with the president?
Well, Iraq has also become a major issue for Republican presidential candidates, with many being asked, did President Bush do the right thing when he invaded Iraq? Gary Lane has the story.
The taking of Ramadi was the biggest gain for ISIS this year.
They've sent in huge numbers of vehicle-borne IEDs, big trucks, massive amounts of explosion, and they've destroyed the place.
It seemed that ISIS was on the run after the Iraqi government retook the city of Tikrit last March. But as they did in Mosul last June, Iraqi soldiers fled from the advance of ISIS in Ramadi.
The Islamic State's control over the capital city of Anbar province is now calling into question the Iraqi government's ability to stop ISIS and the Obama administration's strategy of airstrikes only.
Senator John McCain says the United States needs more boots on the ground in Iraq to stop ISIS. A recent CNN poll showed only about half of Americans believe current U.S. policy will lead to the defeat of ISIS, and 80% say ISIS poses a serious threat to the United States. The ISIS victory comes as some members of the U.S. media are calling into question President Bush's decision to go to war in Iraq. They're asking declared and potential Republican presidential candidates if, knowing what Americans know now, did Bush make the right decision?
Based on what we know now, I think everyone agrees.
Was it a mistake? Was it a mistake to go to war with Iraq? I'm asking you to.
Yeah, I understand, but it's not the same question.
But that's the question I'm asking you. Was it a mistake to go to?
It was not a mistake for the president to decide to go into Iraq, because at the time he was told.
I'm not asking you that. I'm asking you.
In hindsight,
yes.
No, the world is a better place because Saddam Hussein is not there.
So was it
I wouldn't characterize it. But I don't understand the question you're asking.
I'm asking you, knowing everything, as we sit here in 2015.
But that's not the way presidents don't. A president cannot make a decision on what someone might know in the future.
But that's what I'm asking you.
Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal is considering a run, but is yet to declare his presidential candidacy. He says a hypothetical question about the past is not the right question to ask at this moment in time.
The reason we have problems with Iraq today is not George W. Bush's strength. It is because of President Obama's weaknesses. The reason we have instability today is that this president, President Obama, created a void there.
Absent from the hard hypothetical questions about Iraq, Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton. She's answered less than a dozen media questions since launching her campaign last month, and hasn't answered a reporter's question in weeks on any subject. And many analysts still say President Obama made a mistake by cutting back on American troops in Iraq. So what America did in Iraq and mistakes by both the Bush and Obama administrations are likely to get more media attention and scrutiny as the 2016 presidential campaign heats up, as will the question of what needs to be done to defeat ISIS. Gary Lane, CBN News.
Thanks, Gary. We don't really gain anything by looking back and having recrimination about what would you have done or couldn't have done and so forth. The thing is, what are you going to do now? You've got an immediate threat. We've got to deal with it. But the truth is, going into Iraq in that war was a big mistake. We interviewed on this program, I interviewed Saddam's bomb maker. He was the man who was supposedly in charge of thermonuclear weapons for Iraq and Saddam Hussein. And he basically said they do not have the technology and the ability to bring out a nuclear bomb. And I knew it. I hope the CIA knew it. I hope the president knew it. But he was being fed a tissue of lies, and you're hearing all these reports about yellow cake and all that nonsense. And it was a snow job to try to sell that war. And we shouldn't have gone into it. It's cost $1 trillion or more. It was a big mistake. And going in then, we shouldn't have. And looking at it in hindsight, you shouldn't have. It was a bad mistake. But what was done later by Obama has been a worse mistake, because having gotten us in there, then he allows these radicals to take over the country, and all the gain and all the treasure and all the sacrifice of men and women's lives has been wasted. And that, to me, is a great tragedy as well. So what would you do now? What's got to be done now is we have to have a massive effort to destroy ISIS. It cannot be allowed to take over Iraq. It cannot be allowed to take over Syria. It cannot be allowed to take over the Levant, which is what they want. They want the whole Middle East. We can't let them do it. It'll be a clear threat to the United States of America, and we can't let them do it.